Morning, folks. I'm Dave Canterbury with Suffer Alliance Outfitters in the Pathfinder School. What I thought we'd do today is I came out to the lake early this morning to do a little fishing. Only caught a couple bluegill and a small bass. Didn't have a great day, but we had a weather change last night. And it was 63 degrees this morning compared to, it's been in the 90s lately. It's only supposed to get a high of 80 today and the next couple days. So we did have a weather change that affects the fish a little bit, but you know, no excuses. Sometimes you catch them, sometimes you don't. That's the way it goes. What I thought I'd do today though is I thought maybe we'd talk about this little boat and kind of how I've got it equipped, because I've got it equipped fairly inexpensively. And I think that if you look at the way I've got it equipped, you'll see that. And you'll also see the common sense approach to, you know, a single man fishing boat that I put together here. So let's talk about that. All right, so starting off, this is a 9-foot Boston Whaler skiff. Pretty much an unsinkable boat. I bought the boat itself for less than $1,000, okay? And I've got a 9.9 Mercury for it. I've got a 4.5 Mercury for it. But generally speaking, unless I'm going to be on a large lake, a 40-pound thrust trolling motor Minn Kota will run this thing all day, anywhere I want to go, pretty fast and dirty. So we'll start there. All right, so like I said, I've got a 40-pound thrust Minn Kota trolling motor on here, transom mount. I've got a connector on here for my battery that plugs directly into my eco-friendly battery we'll talk about in a minute. And what that does versus the outboard motor is it makes this thing pretty self-sustainable because you can recharge that battery. And if you had a solar panel on the boat, which I have one in the truck, but if I took it out on the boat, I could be charging the battery while I fish, although that's really not necessary because this battery lasts a long time. So let's talk about that battery for a minute. This is the 12-volt battery that I use, and this is just a brand right off Amazon. It's called Eco Worthy. It's got the plugs in it for the trolling motor. It also has a plug here to plug in the solar panels for charging, okay? It came with a connector for this that has a 12-volt pigtail on it, so you can run 12-volt things off of it. I can tell you now that I have ran this battery continuously pretty much for 4 or 5 hours, and a lot of the time on high with this trolling motor, and I've yet to knock it down below about 35%. So it's a really efficient battery. It doesn't weigh very much at all, and it's easy to recharge. You can recharge it in your home with your 110, or you can charge it by solar panel, like I said. So it works great for that, and it's not an expensive battery. This one is the smart version of this battery, which means it has a Bluetooth connection to your phone so you can check the battery's charge and drain while you're using it. But this battery I think is only about 125 bucks, even with the smart feature. So it's not an expensive battery. Now, as far as the safety gear that I put in this boat, it takes up a very small amount of room. I've got a collapsible paddle here. I've got a collapsible net here for landing larger fish. And I have a CO2 inflatable PFD. They all sit right here on one side, out of the way. They're all almost exactly the same size. They take up about an 18-inch footprint, and I can just throw them in the back of my truck so they're not in the boat when I'm driving, and it's good to go. Now, I took the seat completely out of this boat that was in here. It was a really low seat, and I wasn't fond of it, so I took it completely out. And I put a cooler in here, and this is just an off-brand cooler similar to the Arctic Sea Yetis, things like that. It's gray. It's a 20-liter cooler, and I can keep drinks in here. I can keep fish in here. I can use it for a seat. It slides up and down in this trough just perfectly inside this boat, so I can move it around where I want it. It's got rubber on the bottom of the feet, so it sticks really well, and it's just a great addition to give me a seat and a cooler that I can move around and place it where I want to, or I can push it all the way to the back like this and stand up in the boat and fish. So I really like that as far as having a seat in the boat. One piece of gear over here I didn't mention with safety gear, it really kind of falls in that category, is a Grail GeoPress. I always keep a Grail in the boat with me because I have been stranded on a boat before without fresh water for a couple days. About 3 days actually, drinking fish water out of a cooler, and it sucks. All right, so I always keep something I can make fresh water with just in case I get stranded somewhere, run out, get hung up. I've always got water in the cooler, but this just gives me that just in case measure. Okay, I have a Lowrance hook in here, and it's set up in its own box. Got a cover for it. You can take it off the box, take the box inside. The box has a separate 12-volt Bioenno battery in it that's easy to charge up on its own. And I just lay it right here in this box, sitting down, turn it on, and it's ready to go, and it's right there where I need it. And I can just take it completely out when I don't need it. Underneath that is my fire extinguisher, another piece of safety equipment I didn't talk about. I guess I forgot a couple things, as well as a spare plug for the boat. Those are all inside this box with this Lowrance, okay? I've got just a bow line on the front, and when I'm not using the boat, I just store that bow line right here, that same compartment where the Lowrance and the fire extinguisher are at, okay? Real simple. And really, aside from that, you know, I've got a couple of suction cup holders in here that I put on the boat wherever I need them. I can move them around to hold drinks, to hold tackle, to hold my wallet, my phone, things like that. And this gear bag right here, this waterproof gear bag, is where I keep all my fishing tackle. I'm not a big bunch of tackle boxes kind of guy. I'll throw a few boxes and some baits and lures in this thing right here. Spare line, all the things I used to fish with, no matter where I'm fishing, really kind of go in this bag, and it just transport from the truck to the boat and back. I've got 3 rods in here today. Generally, I carry at least 1 ultralight rod and 1 medium action rod with me, 1 for bass fishing and 1 for pan fishing. Today, I've got an extra ultralight rod in there because I was going to do some crappie fishing as well with a slip bobber. All right, guys, listen, I'm all loaded up and I'm ready to get back to the house. And I just kind of wanted to go over the boat with you guys today because I've had a couple questions about it in past videos where I talked about it. And I've had some requests for on the water's edge stuff. So I thought while I was out fishing today, we would take the time to go over how I've got this boat set up, because it's really not an expensive thing to set up per se. You can do it, you know, on a budget of probably less than $2,000 or right at $2,000 for boat, trailer, motor, all that kind of stuff. Fish finder, all that stuff probably comes in under $2,000 in this boat, which, you know, is not a small amount of money, but for something that you're going to have for a long time, these Boston whalers, you're never going to sink them. You're never going to destroy them. They're going to be around for years and years and years and years. Probably pass it down to your son or your daughter. So it's not a bad investment. That's just, you know, everybody should have a boat. I've said that in videos past, and this is a good one to start off with if you're looking for something that you can stand up in, walk around in, stand on the bow, stand on the stern, and never have to worry about sinking this boat. All right, guys, listen, I appreciate you joining me out here at the lake this morning for this quick video on the boat. I appreciate your views and I appreciate your support. I thank you for everything you do for our school, for our family, for our business, for all of our sponsors, instructors, affiliates, and friends. If you got any questions, just hit me up in the comments and I will try to answer them for you. But I think I've pretty much taken care of about everything that's got to do with the boat and how I've got it set up. Guys, I'll see you guys on the next video very soon. Thanks.